Hi, I'm Mary.
And I'm Katie, and this is The Housewife Did It.
True Crime Edition. If you like our show and you missed us the week before, you can subscribe, and share our show and our episodes. By the time this comes out, Pride Month will be over, but that's okay because you can still be gay and love the gays. And we have some Pride merch up on our website. Enjoy.
Yeah. Go check it out.
I do have a few real-time true crimes. I had done a few because I thought my case was coming out really short, and then I found a shit ton of information and it ended up not being that short. So I'm going to try to go quickly through the real-time true crime. First, Karen Reed was found not guilty of second-degree murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death, and the death of John O'Keefe. She was, however, slapped with an OUI and given a 1-year probation sentence. So, if you don't know, Karen Reed was on trial for these crimes after her boyfriend, a Boston police officer and adoptive father of 2, was found dead in the snowy yard outside of their friend's house in January of 2022. The prosecution alleged that Karen hit John with her SUV after becoming angry with him after a night of partying and left him in the cold to die. Her defense argued that Karen was a victim of a biased investigation and that there was more evidence pointing to someone else at the party having attacked or struck John. Others believe it was some kind of accident, but she was found not guilty, so. Case closed, apparently.
Yep. What does Mary think?
I don't know. Sammy asked me, he said, "Who is Karen Reed?" I said, "She's a woman that probably killed her boyfriend." And then he asked me so many questions about it. I was like, "We're going to put on the Dateline episode about this, and you're going to sit here and watch it." And so we got halfway through, and he said, "I don't understand." She obviously didn't kill her boyfriend. And I was like, interesting. After watching it back, I do think that she probably didn't kill him. The saying that her taillight was cracked, and then there's literally a video of her backing into his car and cracking her taillight. I was like, y'all are absurd.
Yeah.
Why do you want this woman to be guilty so bad?
Yeah.
But I certainly don't think that the voicemail she left him looked great.
No.
I don't think that their friend Google searching how long it takes to die in the snow.
But that looks
messy.
Good for Karen Reed.
Right. But I think it's just very messy.
Yeah.
But I don't think she killed him.
Yeah, I just don't. Frankly, there were things, obviously, her hitting the car, and then the video. I don't know if they showed it in the Dateline one, but there's a documentary called A Body in the Snow that followed her first trial. And it shows, basically that the police were touching her back taillight area. And, which is what they're alleging, is that they took the pieces and then planted them. But I think more than anything, her back right taillight did not hit this man on the right side of the road. He's 100 feet from the house. Yeah. She would have had to be in the road and back her car into him in the yard.
And no one noticed.
And it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah.
Her physics.
Again, I think that
she's
her
a cuckoo bird.
Was maybe a little weird.
Yeah.
But I don't think she killed him.
I think she was super sloshed.
Yeah. During the interviews.
Yeah.
Next, it looks like new DNA testing may be finally underway in the West Memphis 3 case. So Damien Eccles petitioned for this and has been working toward it in 2022. and they're finally, a judge has like kind of started that process. Last thing, this is like a silly one. Are you privy to what has been happening with Memphis's school board?
No.
Okay. So this past school year, there was like all this drama because they like fired the superintendent, and basically like people were upset because the reason the superintendent was dropped was because the school board itself was like really corrupt, and the superintendent was trying to stop it, and so they just kicked him out. And since then, like, this one school board member has just been off the rails. So at the end of last year, there was a school board meeting where a parent like voiced a concern about the school board, and this woman told her to, she said, honey, sit down before I deport you.
Oh, okay.
This week the same school board member made news again because she made a social media post about the death of Fred Smith, and said that Fred Smith trusted her enough to move cocaine, and then started talking about like all the like drugs she has been a mule for, and then said that another man that had passed away like visits her in dreams. And since then she has deleted the post.
Dreams.
Right. Since then she has deleted the post. She said that the talk about drug use was taken out of context, and that she just worded it wrong. That she has never been involved in drug trafficking.
Okay.
Ever. So
great.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Just waiting for her to get fired.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah. It's wild that it's been like several days and that she's still on the school board.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have you heard of the death of Kenneka Jenkins?
No.
Okay. A lot of people compare this to the Kendrick Johnson case. And you'll see why, of course, but it's very interesting. So, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. At around 4:30 a.m. on Saturday, September 9th, 2017, Teresa Martin got a phone call from her daughter's friends who had accompanied her to a party. They explained that they had left the party because they couldn't find her daughter, Kenneka Jenkins, but that they had her phone and her keys. Teresa immediately made her way to the Crowne Plaza Hotel in Rosemont, Illinois, near the O'Hare Airport, where the party had taken place. She arrived at 5:30 a.m. and began searching for Kenneka. After not finding her, she went to hotel management and requested that they begin combing through video surveillance to see if they could find where Kenneka had gone, but they told her they couldn't grant access to it until Kenneka had been reported missing. At 7:14 a.m., Teresa called to report her daughter missing, and she very clearly told the operator taking her call that something was not right because it wasn't like Kenneka to disappear like this. The operator told Teresa that Kenneka was probably running around with her friends or had even passed out at one of their places and forgot to call. Teresa pointed out that Kenneka could not have been with her friends because Kenneka's friends were standing right there with her.
Okay.
So she's not with her friends because I have them. Then she basically tells the operator she's not really interested in where he thinks her daughter is because she cannot find her daughter. She asks him if there is a certain amount of time that has to pass before she can file a missing persons report, and he said that she could technically file it at any time after a person is unaccounted for. But his final suggestion was for Teresa to try and relax and to wait until around 10 or 11 a.m. to call back. His reasoning was that it would take a few hours to file the paperwork anyway, so if Kenneka turned up during that time, then they wouldn't have wasted their time with that paperwork.
Oh, good.
I guess not considering the fact that if Kenneka is still missing at that time, it's been 3 or 4 hours, and now you still have to do the paperwork.
They wasted their time with not doing the paperwork.
So at 12:46 p.m., Kenneka had still not turned up. So her older sister, Lenore Harris, filed a missing persons report with the police. About 30 minutes later, at 1:15 p.m., the police called the hotel to confirm that Kenneka Jenkins had officially been classified as a missing person and that they could start looking through the surveillance footage. Teresa and Lenore returned to the hotel at 6 p.m. and began knocking on as many guest doors as possible until a hotel employee called 911 to complain about the noise. And that got the police up there real fast.
Noise complaints. That'll do it.
Right. On the 911 call, she says, the mother of that girl is up here knocking on all of our guests' doors and disturbing them. The mother of the girl.
Mm-hmm.
This is when they finally check the security camera footage. They watched hours of footage of entrances and exits until finally at 10 p.m. they found footage of Kenneka stumbling through the hotel. Police looked throughout the hotel as shown by hotel security cameras. They are seen searching the lobby, the hallways, kitchens, but they're unable to find Kenneka. They told Teresa and Lenore that they were going to leave and explore other avenues to finding Kenneka. And then they ended up returning to the hotel. At 12:25 a.m. on Sunday, this is the 10th, an employee found Kenneka's body in a hotel freezer. At this point, it had been 21 hours since Kenneka had last been seen in person. The entire scenario, other than, there's no cameras on the freezer, but this whole kind of thing is caught on camera. So the manager is seen going back to the freezer area, then walking back around the corner and going to alert the police. Some people have pointed out that the manager has a strange reaction to finding a teenage girl deceased in his hotel's freezer. He, in the video, he just kind of walks straight into the freezer, which has nothing in it other than Kenneka at this point. It's not like he's going back there to get something.
Sure.
So he goes straight to the hotel freezer. Then he seemed undisturbed and unsurprised as he walked back to find police. I will say, when I saw this security footage, yes, he did seem unfazed. But I heard the officer give a code, oh, it's a 301 or whatever the code was. And then I thought I heard someone say, "Oh, fuck." And then the officer gave the code again, almost like he had been interrupted, which made me think that maybe the manager was saying "Oh, fuck," kind of freaking out more verbally than physically. Sure. And then the officer is heard saying, "I have that subject in the kitchen freezer and she is frozen solid."
Great.
So this was a walk-in freezer.
The delicacy here.
Right. Yeah. This was a walk-in freezer with a walk-in cooler, and at the time, the kitchen it was in was unused, and the lights were off in both chambers of the freezer. Originally, there was some confusion about why the freezer was even on, if it wasn't being used by the hotel, but they said that it was being leased out to a restaurant at the time. They just didn't have anything in it.
Why?
At that moment.
Why are they paying the lease?
Right. There was a motion detecting security camera in the kitchen that does follow Kenneka, but it does not catch her entering the freezer that night. So after she rounds the corner to where the freezer is, we don't see her again in any video footage.
Okay.
The medical examiner arrived at the hotel at 3:08 a.m. In the 3 hours since Kenneka's body had been found, the freezer door had been left open and the temperature had gone up, I guess. She was pronounced dead. I put this out of order. Kenneka had been pronounced dead at 12:48 a.m. when the police found her, and they believed she died in the cold temperatures of the freezer, which by the time the medical examiner arrived was at 34 degrees, which means it was even colder before the door had been left open for those hours.
Sure.
One thing I really appreciate about the Morbid podcast is Elena's insight as an autopsy technician. So they covered this case, and Elena said that this lapse in time between finding a body and beginning an exam is unacceptable. She said, especially with her having been in the freezer, because the rate of like post-mortem events would have been paused with her being in the freezer because of the low temperature, and then accelerated once the freezer was left open.
Yeah.
So she's like, you already like need to be there quickly, but like there's so many like rapid changes happening as her body is
thawing.
Like, yes, is like going through so many like temperature changes,
Mm-hmm.
that like you need to be there right away. The ME left the hotel around 5:30 a.m. The autopsy photos are public in this case, so I'm going to describe some things that stood out to me from the photos and some things that like stood out to Kenneka's loved ones. Her hair was matted around her forehead, like it was kind of like it kind of looked like when you sweat and your hair gets stuck to your forehead, and then it was like kind of matted in the back as well. This they believed could have been from her hair freezing and then melting after the door opened.
Okay.
She had been found lying face down on her side, and she was missing a shoe. Her head was tightly in the corner of the freezer. Like I was trying to figure out like how to describe this, but like her head was like so closely pressed against the walls of the freezer.
Interesting.
It was very, yeah, I was like, I
like
don't
it
think I would
was
be comfortable.
frozen to it.
I don't know about that, but like if you think about like a corner, like she was like really, her head was really jammed into that corner.
Sure.
The bra she had been wearing under her jean jacket that night was askew. So in the photos, they've covered that area with like black boxes because her bra was kind of off. Yeah. Her eyes were closed. She had one hand clenched on her rib cage and one clenched under her chin. She did not have any notable injuries other than a small cut on her foot and a bruise on her leg. Based on the photos, Kenneka was laying in a pile of trash within the freezer. And her lip gloss, her right shoe, and a black scrunchie seemed to have been tossed from her body. They were just kind of like scattered around her. Okay. Her jeans were covered in dark spots that were reported to be mud stains.
Okay.
About a month later, on October 6th, 2017, the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office ruled Kenneka's death an accident, and her cause of death was exposure to the elements resulting in hypothermia, with alcohol and drug intake being contributing factors. According to the autopsy, Kenneka did not have any illegal drugs in her system. However, she did have traces of topiramate, which is a prescription drug used to treat epilepsy and migraines, neither of which Kenneka suffered from. This medication, coupled with a blood alcohol level of 0.112, had the potential to be dangerous, especially knowing that Kenneka had not been prescribed this medication.
Sure.
When mixed with a drug like topiramate, the effects of alcohol are enhanced and the onset of hypothermia would have been sped up. This was evidenced by the fact that lesions had formed inside of Kenneka's stomach during the time that she was in the freezer. Yeah. I looked it up and found the following information on topiramate. It is classified as an anticonvulsant used to treat epilepsy or essential tremor, control alcohol dependence, and prevent migraine headaches. It works to calm overactive nerves in the brain by increasing the effect of inhibitory neurotransmitters, blocking the effects of excitatory neurotransmitters, and helping maintain the body's acid-base balance. Common side effects include a pins and needle sensation, weight loss, drowsiness, dizziness, blurry and doubled vision, and confusion. Some more serious side effects are severe vision problems, an acid-base imbalance called metabolic acidosis, and suicidal thoughts and behaviors. Topiramate is not recommended to be mixed with alcohol, antidepressants, birth control, or other anti-epileptic drugs. The reason I wanted to dive a little more into detail on this is because it doesn't seem to be any kind of like recreational or party drug.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't her prescription, which we know it wasn't, it seems weird that she would have just randomly taken it at this party, especially if she was already drinking. Kenneka's family weighed in on this as well and said she did occasionally get headaches, but she wouldn't have taken this sort of medication for it. They also said that Kenneka did not take pills recreationally. She had tried it once and she did not like the way it made her feel. It made her feel sick. She did not want to do it again.
She had taken specifically topiramate before?
No, she had taken like pills at a party.
Oh, okay. Sure.
So they're saying like she's not like the kind of girl to go to a party and people are passing around pills and she just takes one.
Sure, she would have been like cautious.
Right. Another thing discovered during the autopsy was swelling to Kenneka's brain, which the medical examiner said could not be linked to hypothermia.
Okay.
On the same day the autopsy was released, the Rosemont Police Department announced that they had not yet completed their investigation, but that they did not suspect foul play. According to the police report, they did note that the credit card used to secure the hotel room for the party that evening was fraudulent, and they were able to link it back to a Chicago area gang. Despite this revelation, police maintained that there was no foul play, and all the partygoers were cleared after their police interviews.
Okay.
So, that's kind of what happened so far. Obviously, because that's how storytelling goes.
That's how much of the story I've told so far.
To say that Kenneka was beloved is an understatement. After police closed her case, huge crowds of people began protesting outside of the hotel and demanding the case be reopened and reinvestigated. Hundreds upon hundreds of people came to her funeral, including people who hadn't known her in her life. Most of them with good intentions. Some of them went and tried to give her mom opinions on what they think happened, and her mom was like, "Shut the fuck up. That's not why we're here."
Yeah.
But most of them were there to be supportive. Internet sleuths began looking deeper into Kenneka's case and the digital evidence of that night and made her case go viral. It made national news due to the high volume of people trying to solve it. Kenneka's family and friends had only wonderful things to say about her. At the time of her death, 19-year-old Kenneka was working 2 jobs and was trying to get into nursing school. This is another thing that people point at for like why she wouldn't have taken the topiramate was like, well, she was going to be a nurse. And I was like, okay, yes, but she's 19 and she's not a nurse. So like, I wouldn't expect her to know all of the possible side effects of a drug.
Yeah.
Especially if she was drunk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying she took it. It doesn't seem like she would have. I don't see why you would want to take that as a party drug. But I think to be like, oh, well, she wanted to go to nursing school is different from she's a medical professional.
Sure. Yeah, I also think like there's always the option that like someone just lied to her and like told her it was something different. Right. So like she still opted to take it technically.
I think especially if there was like, because I think like the way people talked about like her not wanting to take pills they were like adamant, like she would not take pills. But I wonder if she was really drunk, if she was getting like a headache or she was getting nauseous and someone said like, take this.
Sure.
Like if she would take it not thinking it's a party drug, but thinking like it would make her feel better.
Sure.
But
True.
I don't know. Her loved ones described her as sweet, loving, great, and joyous. They said she was full of excitement and was extremely goofy. She loved to eat, watch Netflix, laughed, and lift other people's spirits. Everyone wanted to be around her and said it was impossible not to be happy when you were. Her friends keep videos of her still because they miss her voice and her laugh. And they just listen to videos of her talking and giggling.
Cute.
Kenneka grew up on the west side of a Chicago neighborhood called Lawndale, which is about 30 minutes from the Crowne Plaza Hotel in Rosemont. Lawndale is reported to be one of the 5 most dangerous neighborhoods in Chicago. Kenneka's friends referred to it in their interviews as a jungle and a war zone.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So
who referred to it as that?
Her friends that were at the party.
Okay.
They were talking like we're gonna get into like why they were in this town 30 minutes away, and they're saying like we don't want to hang out in Lawndale. It's a jungle. It's a war zone. We don't want to be there.
Okay.
Yes. According to some journalists from Chicago, kids from this area would often host these hotel parties with their friends in an attempt to stay out of trouble in Lawndale. Kenneka and her friends were no different. They called themselves a turn-up crew and admitted they loved to party, but they wanted to do it somewhere they could stay safe. These kids, under the age of 21, found that the downtown hotels were too strict, which brought them to the wealthy neighborhood of Rosemont. In some of my research, they interviewed a lot of people from Chicago, like specifically like journalists from Chicago, and one of them said in one of the shows I watched that Chicago is one of the most racist and most segregated cities in America. And another said people think of Chicago and immediately think of crime, but in reality, 5 neighborhoods make up 90% of the crime rate in the city. And Lawndale, where Kenneka was from, is one of them. Rosemont is not one of them. So they basically like, and they, a lot of the journalists like really applauded Kenneka and her friends for like wanting to like do the right thing by like not being out and about in Lawndale in the middle of the night partying. Yeah. They're like they wanted to go somewhere safe and they had found somewhere they could do that, and so that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
Her family said like after the investigation and everything that they really just want to know what happened to put their minds at ease and gain a sense of closure, but police said we do know what happened.
It was an accident.
They closed the case on the belief that Kenneka, with a blood alcohol level 1.4 times the legal limit, walked into the hotel freezer, immediately dropped to the ground, and fell asleep. They reasoned that she was so intoxicated and underwent hypothermia so quickly that she probably never realized she was in a freezer and would not have weighed the dangers of falling asleep there with the door closed and would not have tried to get out. Her loved ones did not subscribe to this narrative of events. After the case was closed, Kenneka's mom made a public statement saying she believed someone inside of the hotel had killed Kenneka. The superintendent of the Rosemont Police Department released the surveillance footage they had obtained from the hotel to the public in an attempt to clear up any concerns. He admitted that this case was unlike any he had seen before, but said that it was ridiculous to believe in any conspiracy theory or cover-up.
He claimed, I don't know. I also like, maybe I'm not quite getting like how extensive like a cover-up would need to be for this. So like maybe we'll get there. But it's like I'm so over like us using the word conspiracy inappropriately, like believing that she was killed is not like some nut job conspiracy theory that like you're having to like tinfoil hat on to think of. Like, also, if there's one of two options, like it was an accident or it was not. And so like that's so weird to me.
Yeah. Also, I wasn't able to confirm this, so I'm not like stating this as a piece of evidence, but more as like, if her family's seeing some of the same things I saw when I was doing research on her case, I could see why they might believe that. But like, there was something that said that like one of the hotel managers was found guilty of murder of someone else.
Sure.
So like, if they're seeing like these kinds of like speculatory articles coming out, then like, of course that's gonna continue to lead them to believe that like that what they already believe, which is that something happened to her.
Yeah, but it doesn't even have to be like a cover up. Like, it could be a guest in the hotel. Yeah. Like, they're just saying someone in the hotel. They're not necessarily saying like the hotel manager, and now they're working with the cops. And like, again, maybe you haven't gotten there, but I'm like, I don't know.
I think when her mom says someone in the hotel, she does mean someone who works there.
Staff. Okay.
By that, I do think it's interesting, and yes, we will get to like all of the theories and like evidence, whatever. I do think it's interesting that they're very sure, her family, that someone killed her, but they are also very sure it wasn't someone at the party, which I think is interesting because the like internet sleuths who have like combed through all of this and like reposted YouTube videos that we're gonna watch and all that, like a lot of that evidence does kind of point to it possibly being someone at the party. So I think that's interesting. But
yeah.
The superintendent claimed that his office had done nothing but provide facts to the family and the public and had been working around the clock to conduct the investigation. He also said that the protests outside of the hotel had taken up a lot of their resources at the same time they were trying to wrap up the investigation. So he's basically like, well, if y'all would get out of the front of the hotel, we could be doing better. The family believes that hotel security footage from that night had been tampered with. The final piece of footage showed Kenneka in that basement kitchen, rounding the corner toward the freezer. Her mom claimed that when she went to the freezer herself, she saw security cameras pointing directly at the freezer and wanted to see those tapes, but the hotel told her that they were sprinklers. But she wondered if they were saying that to cover something up.
Okay.
An expert on security footage weighed in and said that the file police had released that contained the security footage was an EXE file. He claimed that if this type of video file had been clipped in some way, there would be some sort of glitch or error, making it obvious that it had been altered. And that on top of that, it is almost impossible to send, share, or download an edited EXE file. A journalist looking into the case asked if someone could be talented enough to edit the video without it being obvious, and the expert said that there is no record of that ever happening before with an EXE file in history.
Okay.
But I also think it sounds like maybe her mom is not saying they clipped this video, they edited this video, they cut this video. It sounds like she's saying that there might be other video.
Yeah, that we just don't have.
From a different camera. Right. Which I'm not saying is true. I just think that I don't think she's talking about like a cut situation.
Yeah, not like a Lisa Lamb.
Yeah.
Where like you're like missing some seconds or something.
It skips from like
Yeah.
The superintendent claimed that these theories brought up by the family were the result of the simple fact that they did not trust the police. But when a neighborhood with a black population of 3% is investigating the death of a black teenage girl, there could be some skepticism, some distrust. We can't blame them for that. You know? On the Morbid podcast, when they talked about that, they said like, they brought up the Tuskegee experiment and They brought up like other like historical situations of Black people not being able to trust authority. I think it's. I don't think we have to go into huge detail on that. I think it's just a fact of life at this point. Like, we can't blame them for not wanting to trust these white people who seem to be dismissing them at every turn.
Yeah.
Friends of Kenneka's had differing reports of what happened that night. So, what we know is they were having a birthday party for a friend named Irene. The party was set for September 8th, but by the time Kenneka arrived, it was technically the 9th, and then she was found on the 10th. So I keep that timeline in mind because it goes for a long time. If you know about this case, then you know one of the biggest pieces that draws people to it is the amount of videos these kids made on Facebook Live during this party. In most of these videos, Irene is taking a front-facing video where she is smoking a blunt and wearing a pair of extremely reflective sunglasses. I'm going to go through a list of things that were seen or heard on these videos that made people pause. I'm going to start with like the undisputable these things were for sure said or done, and then get into the other ones. So in one video, Irene is seen hitting a blunt, and after she exhales, she seemingly mouths the word help. I don't know about the help part, but this part
I was going to say seemingly
I can
to
confirm.
you.
Right, seemingly to me. I didn't see it. Other people are like clear as day. She says it. But what I did see is in the reflection of her mirrored glasses, this is how mirrored they are. I can tell you so much about it. There is a man in a red sweatshirt sitting on the couch across from Irene. And someone in jeans is seen stumbling into the couch. And some people think that that is Kenneka, either drugged or already extremely drunk. Some people also think that it looks like she maybe falls to the floor or is on the floor at some point. To me, it just looks like she's walking by him. In another video where Irene is videoing herself, Kenneka can be heard in the background saying, "Girl, I'm not drunk." Someone responds and says, "Just enjoy yourself, Kenneka." And then Kenneka is heard saying, "I am enjoying myself." This narrative comes up in another video where we hear Kenneka say, "I'm not drunk." Then someone says, "No, don't play that." Irene kind of stops what she's doing and says, "Who's playing?" And they said, "Kenneka." And then Irene said, "Now we know she's about to be drunk."
Okay. Which is like totally normal, right?
Yeah.
Everyone, like when your friends start saying, "I'm not drunk," they're drunk as fuck, or at least they're on their way.
Right.
Very
in
normal.
In an interview with Irene, she said that once Kenneka started saying she wasn't drunk, that's when you knew she was definitely drunk.
Yeah.
In another video, someone with Irene mentioned something about $200. This becomes a catalyst for a rumor that Kenneka was killed in a murder for hire plot, or that someone intended to sell her organs on the black market.
Oh.
In the same
And
interview,
they
I
were
mentioned
freezing
before,
her organs so they could
yes,
go back and get them.
that's what they think.
Okay.
In the same interview I mentioned before, Irene explained that they were discussing needing to keep up with their parking ticket for the hotel guest lot because there was a $200 fine if you lost it. I will say, I thought I wrote this down somewhere, but now I'm not seeing it, so I'll just put it here. In one of the other videos I watched, Irene is on the phone and is telling someone where to park. And she's saying, like, park in the parking lot. No, don't park there. Park here. And she's kind of helping people navigate through the hotel because it's her birthday. And then journalists were able to confirm that the price of a lost ticket in that hotel was a fine of $200. So I think that probably is
no, that's crazy.
What it is. I also think that $200 would be an insanely low price for a hit or organs.
Yeah.
So
wait, they're saying what? They're saying that
they were discussing how much money someone was going to get for murdering Kenneka or selling her organs on the black market, and the price that was clearly heard was $200. That doesn't add up to me.
No. But that hotel needs to understand that's a ridiculous amount for a lost ticket.
For sure.
The most I've ever seen for a lost ticket was $75, and I thought that was crazy.
What's crazy is, so the picture that they found that like confirms that's the lost ticket price. It said something like there was another fine like right above that was like $20. And then, like, the very next fine was, like, lost ticket, $200. I was like, oh, my God. Like, what is this jump? The man who conducted that interview with Irene, Zach TV, he was the only reporter that any of Kenneka's friends from the party ever spoke to about Kenneka's death. He was a native of Chicago himself. And he said that when he asked them to do an interview with him, he told them that he wanted to give them a chance to set the record straight and clear their names. After his interview with Irene, he said he believed the teens were being honest about their roles that night. And then he said, in Chicago, if we have problems, I'm not going to take you to the suburbs and a place with public cameras and drug you and put you in the freezer when I could just shoot you.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like it would not have been hard to just kill Kenneka in Lawndale.
Right.
Where she lives.
Right. Now getting into the action, after he did those, and not like immediately after, but after he did those interviews with her friends, Zach TV was killed in a drive-by shooting in Chicago.
Oh no!
And yeah, in the episode I watched on this, he was killed in Chicago, and then another person they had been interviewing was murdered in Chicago before the episode aired.
Wow.
Yeah. So now getting into the more speculative video evidence, these are the things people say they hear or see when the video or audio is enhanced, slowed down, like, you know the drill. In one video, some people say you can hear Irene saying, "They stupid, they in there raping that girl." In another, they say a man can be heard saying, "We about to murder somebody." In another, there is a very squeaky sound, which the squeaky sound is clear, but some people believe it's Kenneka saying, "Help me." Before we're gonna
It doesn't just sound like a bed squeaking?
No, it's like,
oh, okay.
I don't know. And then after that is heard, Irene turns up the music very loud.
It's starting to remind me of like the one you did with that woman from the islands.
Woman from the islands?
And those white women murdered her.
Oh, yes. Tamla Horsford.
Yeah. But also that one, Karen Reed reminds me of that one too.
Oh, interesting. But the thing is, I do
think
that those white women killed Tamla Horsford.
No, for sure. But where you are in the story,
yeah,
right now, it kind of sounds like these women were a part of killing Kenneka.
Yeah.
I mean, I get we're not done, but
there's another video where people believe they hear either Kenneka or Irene say, "You slapped me, I'm out," to which a male voice responded, "Are you going to ride with me or not?" And then in another video, people say they can hear a male voice say, "I'm finna give this to that girl over there." So
pyramid.
So we're going to watch some of these more questionable videos and get your opinion. There is like so much Facebook Live video from this night. So this, I found a short clip that has like the squeaky like "help me," and then some of the other things that we talked about. So I can do.
What the fuck?
Hold on. Is it very quiet for you? Okay. Did you hear the squeak? Okay. It's like really quiet on my end.
No, it's loud for me. At least she ain't hit it. You dancing on to check it out. Yeah.
I am enjoying my what's up? You riding with me?
Okay. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's one of those things that like the words were right there for me, but it did sound exactly like what the words said that it sounded like.
Yeah. When I watched it, the male voices in the beginning were so in the background to me, like I couldn't be sure. Like if you told me someone said that, I would be like, okay, yeah, they did. But like I couldn't be sure. But I do think the squeak sounds kind of like a help me. And I do think it's strange that she just turns the music up so quickly and then it's like, what the fuck?
But I do think it would be weird for her to literally like something is like squishing her throat enough that she's squeaking out help me, but then 5 seconds later she's like, I'm not drunk, and like
no, the videos are out of order.
Oh, okay.
I think the I'm not drunk is like or before the help.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong though, because it looks kind of continuous. So
yeah, it did. But so I just kind of felt like I don't know that they would be like choking her and then right after having a conversation with her and then like I don't know. Yeah. But I mean, that's not to say that the help me couldn't have been some girl.
Yeah.
Which would show that something's going on here.
Yeah. Yeah. The girl who's telling her to enjoy herself, Monifa, is Kenneka's best friend. That's who I think they went to the party together. And so like in a lot of the videos where you hear Kenneka talking in the background, she's talking to Monifa. And this is like rumor mill, I guess. I've gotten so deep into this, but allegedly Monifa and Irene were like in a huge like fight, like not getting along. And so another thing people point at is that there's also videos of like Monifa and Irene sitting really close together and like sharing a drink, and they're like, this is really strange because like according to everyone who went to that party that night, like they were beefing. So like why are they so buddy? Yeah. But I don't know. So now we're going to go over the timelines that friends have presented. At the time that Kenneka left the party, she and her friends got to the elevator of the 9th floor where the party was when she realized she had left her phone in the room. So there are two stories of what happens next. One account of events is that the friends stay at the elevator and wait for Kenneka to get the phone and come back. Another account, and the one that seems to be the most accurate, is that Kenneka is the one who stays at the elevator and her friends go back to find the phone. The reason I say this is most likely is because her friends say the last place they saw her was at the 9th floor elevator, and this is where the surveillance footage begins picking her up alone. Okay. After that point, she can be seen alone, walking and stumbling throughout the hotel. So I want to show you this video of her walking through the hotel and kind of get your opinion on, like her mannerisms, I guess, as she's moving. So I think it's like obvious that she's drunk. Um, but I wanted to see, like, I guess if you think it looks like more than that, like maybe does it look like she's been drugged? I think it's interesting, like it almost looks like she's walking in like toward the walls when she falls into them, like she's like zigzagging across the hallways and walking like into paintings. Like
Yeah.
at one point when she's walking in front of the stairs, like her body's leaned back away from her legs. It's just very like interesting the way she's walking.
Yeah, I think the back bend is obviously odd. I mean, it's just hard for me to say, like, I don't know how everyone walks when they're drunk. And it's like, it is possible that when someone's really drunk, they just walk that way. I mean, I do think that, like, some of the leaning is, like, on par with things that we see when people take recreational drugs. And yeah, it does seem like she's almost like going to the wall, but I think that's probably just for like support.
Yeah.
Just gravitating toward like something.
I think also like the speculation with like being drugged is like, did someone like sneak a drug to her or force her to take a drug? We know she had the drug in her system.
Right. Yeah.
So like we know that like that's part of this. What's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. I do think there's a part where it looks like right after she's leaned back by the stairs and she like comes back up, like it looks like she's talking and laughing to herself. Which is like, you know, whatever. Yeah. Like it could mean someone's out of frame that she's talking to, although that's unlikely that someone's been out of frame the entire time. Right. Or it could be that she is just drunk and is talking to herself and laughing to herself. It could also, we could go full Elisa Lam and we could say maybe she's schizophrenic and she's talking to herself, or like, who knows? But yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good.
Yeah. Another reason I think that this, like her being left alone at the elevator, is the most likely explanation of like where and why she was left alone, is that when her friends called her mom, they told her they had her phone. And so it seems like they left her and went and grabbed the phone. On the Morbid podcast, they made the point that like you should never leave your friends alone, especially if they're drunk. Like you come together, you stick together, you leave together. And we talked about this a little bit when Riley Strain went missing, and about how like we as women struggle to comprehend letting your friend leave a bar and go home alone. But I will say, as a former 19-year-old, I completely understand the idea of not wanting to drag your drunk friend back down the hallway when it probably took forever to get them to that elevator in the first place. And I also think like it's fair to assume, like especially as a teenager, like I'll leave my friend right here while I go back around the corner and get her phone, and then we'll leave. Like you're not thinking she's gonna walk away or something's gonna happen. Like of course it makes you wonder like if things would have ended differently had she not been left alone, and seemingly left alone for a good amount of time. When they before they were and then they never found her. But I think like, yeah, I have friends who like are, when I was 19, were very frustrating to get from point A to point B if we had been drinking. And I would also be like, can you just sit here for a second? I'll go get your phone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think if there were multiple of them, like sure, in hindsight, one of them should have just stayed with her.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have to move her back. They could have just said, hey, let's sit down right here while they go get your phone. But I do think like it's different. Like you would not let your friend walk home outdoors from a bar, or you would not leave your friend in a bar. You're in a hotel.
Right.
Like, that's not the same.
Right.
And, like,
you're
to
going
me,
down the hallway.
Yeah, the worst thing that would happen to my friend in a hotel is that, like, she would cause a disturbance.
Yeah.
And, like, someone would come out and, like, yell at her. But if you're in a wealthy part of town in a hotel and you're just going down the hallway, like, I think the assumption is, like, if someone were to walk out of the room and kill her, I would hear it.
Right.
And also, like, we're fine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, like, hindsight, always, you realize, like, oh, they shouldn't have left her. But I think, yeah, I mean, they're 19 years old. They're all drunk. They're all high. They're all whatever. And they're just, like, making, I don't know, I don't even want to say bad decisions, but, like, they're not being the most cautious, I guess.
Right. The video also shows that clip of her entering the basement kitchen 10 floors below where her friends left her. And that's where she's last seen before she disappears from the footage. About half an hour later, Kenneka's friends are seen on hotel video footage searching for her. It's like there's a little bit of it and I fast forwarded through it. But it's like 3 or 4 of them. And they're seen walking up and down the hallways, looking behind walls and in corners. It looks like they're calling her name out. And then eventually they're seen going to the front desk to ask for help. They ask the person working the front desk if they can check the security footage and if they can see where their friend went or if she left, and they said no, and then asked them to get out of the hallway.
Okay.
This is when they call Kenneka's mom. Again, they're 19. They've just been told no. They're like, fuck, what do we do? Maybe this adult can help. After the party, one of Kenneka's friends texted another saying Kenneka was drunk and missing, and the friend responded saying, "Find Kenneka. I can't believe y'all lost her."
Fair.
So that's kind of like where the events of the night end, and then the investigation or the search begins. And we've already discussed that. So we're going to get into some theories. These, I will say, these aren't like really entirely flushed out theories, like from start to finish, here's what happened. It's more like bits and pieces of like why this might have been happened this way, why might this be like that, I don't know. So Kenneka's friends and family,
her multiple families,
firmly do not believe she stumbled into that freezer herself. They said her positioning was strange, and they found it hard to believe that in the state in which we saw her walking, she could have opened the heavy industrial freezer door and let herself in.
Yeah.
So then there's some speculation about the scrape on her foot. I don't think there's clearly a scrape on her foot, and it is like fresh blood. So like I'm sure she got it that night. I don't think it looks like that big a scrape. The Morbid girls described it as a significant gash.
Okay.
I would not describe it as that personally. But it's clear from the pictures that it had been actively bleeding before Kenneka died, so it looked very fresh. It was on the side of her heel, just under her ankle bone. Some stupid people think that Kenneka may have began taking her shoes off when she entered a hypothermic state as a result of paradoxical undressing.
Okay.
And then, I guess, only got around to taking off the one shoe.
And scraped her foot while taking her shoe off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another idea around this was that once the freezer door was open, it began closing on Kenneka, and her ankle got caught on the door, pulling off her shoe, cutting her heel, and shutting the door behind her.
Okay.
Which I think makes more sense than paradoxical undressing.
Yeah.
Either like the door was already open for some reason, or she opened it and then it got heavy, she realized, and it like kind of shut on her foot. The next set of theories is centered around that medication. Some wonder if Kenneka was drugged by someone who knew about this medication's reaction with alcohol and knew it would either further incapacitate her or make her sick. Irene stated that she had only ever seen Kenneka that drunk before on her own birthday. She said that she had seen her that night and she had had 1 cup of like whatever they were drinking and then began drinking out of a bottle. But she also said that she did not think Kenneka would have taken any pills.
Mm.
Other friends of Kenneka's say they had never seen her get sloppy drunk and that it was very out of character for her. So people wonder like if someone gave her the drug.
Yeah, earlier on.
Yeah. The final theory is that something bad happened to Kenneka and she was dumped in the freezer. This is what her loved ones believe. Their speculation is that Kenneka was assaulted by a security guard or hotel employee, or even had been the victim of a gang rape, and that her attacker had carried her into the freezer and left her there to die. They point to the positioning of Kenneka's hands in the autopsy photos where her arms are up kind of like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like one here and one here. Possibly in a defensive position. I think you could also make the argument that that's kind of like just how people lay on their bodies. I guess like she's laying on her stomach or her side. She's not laying with her arms down by her side. I also wonder if this could have been why her hair was matted, if someone had raped her and her hair had been messed up at that time. The autopsy would not have consisted of a sexual assault examination because her death had been ruled an accident, but it also noted no signs of a struggle. I have to say, I hate to disagree with what a family thinks. I want so badly to always believe what a family thinks happened to their child. But in every video she is in, she is completely alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I just find it hard to believe that in the time it took for her to get around that corner and out of camera shot, that there was someone waiting for her.
Yeah.
Outside the freezer.
Yeah.
That killed her. Like that just so
or that like, there's sorry, keep going.
Well, I was just, like, she clearly wasn't like carried there.
Sure.
And she's walking alone. And so I just can't imagine that there like really was just a bad person waiting right next to the freezer for her that like took advantage of her.
Yeah, I feel like the other option is that like she just happened to walk past the freezer on her own, and then there's footage we're missing where she leaves the kitchen. Yeah. And at an entirely different time, something happens. And there's like more footage of her with this person, but we're missing that. And then, but then it's like, that's a weird coincidence that they would take her back to a place that she already walked to on her own. Like, unless they rape her, then go check the footage and say, oh, she went out of frame right here. Let's put her there. But it's like, but you also have to think someone watches that footage live. Yeah. So like, they already could have known that like she walked by the freezer. Yeah. And then they go find her maybe in an area where they know they can turn the cameras off or whatever, if they have control over that. And then they think like, cool, I'll just put her back in the last place that the cameras are.
Right. I also wonder, I think that I hadn't thought about that. And I think that's a good point. Like, if it was like a security guard who either had footage that they knew they could do something with, or that was in like doing rounds in the basement at that time and saw that she had walked kind of that way, then like I certainly think it's reasonable to believe that she was drugged or something bad happened to her before she ended up in the freezer. I also I think it's very possible that she was drugged, something bad happened to her, and then in that state, she just kind of stumbled into the freezer, especially if it was like already open. And that wouldn't have happened had she not been drugged. I also think that it's not completely out of the realm of possibility if someone went into the freezer and found her there and like took advantage of her and then left her there. and we're missing that.
Sure.
Like, especially because like because the freezer's not in video frame, so you could potentially see someone on video walking in that area and then walking back, and you wouldn't necessarily say like they did something when they went in the freezer even.
Yeah. I mean, it could be that like security guards watching and they're like, did that girl just go in the freezer? And so then they go down there and they're like, she's in here. It is out of frame. She's super gone. I'm just gonna commit a crime.
Yeah.
And then leave her there. And she did walk in there on her own.
Yeah. I do have questions about the swelling.
Yes. Okay. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, does that indicate a blow to her head? Is that what they're saying?
Well, so there's no like external injury to her head. And during the autopsy, like they take her weave out and everything. And so I think that like if there was some kind of like bruising to her scalp, like that it's not like they wouldn't have seen it. I also like, I don't know if this is different, but like she is like a dark-skinned woman, so like is it possible, especially if a white person is doing this autopsy, if they just wouldn't notice bruising on her scalp with her
and
dark
I wonder how
complexion and her dark hair?
And like, does freezing affect that? Like if you get a bruise,
like if you put a spoon on your hickey,
if you get a bruise and then you immediately go into hypothermia, is it gonna do the same thing that it would?
Yeah, but they did see a bruise on her leg.
Okay, sure.
But maybe that
could have been an older bruise.
I don't know. Yeah. But there's not like any like open wound on her head or anything.
Her skull is not cracked.
But they did say that her brain or head swelling would not have been from hypothermia.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could argue, since her head is so far in the corner, you could argue that she walked in and she literally took a nosedive into that corner, caused herself some head trauma, and then like knocked herself out and was just stuck in that corner.
Yeah. In 2018, Jeffrey Feiger, the family's attorney, filed a $50 million lawsuit against the hotel and other entities they deemed responsible for Kenneka's death. In the litigation, Feiger provided photos of a freezer door showing that it had the ability to lock from the outside using a button. So he suggested that someone may have locked the freezer door after Kenneka went in, either on purpose or by mistake. But the photo he presented was not of the actual freezer door from the hotel. It's a different freezer door. Okay. The freezer that Kenneka was found in had a latch closure on the outside, but it did not have a lock. And it had a circular white handle on the inside. It was like a big white button on the inside that if you pushed it, you would be able to open the freezer if the latch was down.
Okay.
If the latch was up, it would not. But I'm guessing that the latch was not up when they found her, is why they think, I don't know. This button seemed to have been in good working order at the time of Kenneka's death, but it would have been dark in the freezer when she was in there. The lights didn't come on, so she may not have seen it or tried to find it if she couldn't see it. She may not have even thought like she could get out if she were conscious. Security footage acquired from the hotel did not show anything after the footage found of Kenneka walking toward the freezer. Feiger then claimed that the hotel should have locked off the kitchen area while it was going unused, and that they easily could have because it had a pair of plywood doors with a working padlock. The courts agreed with this and found the hotel negligent by not securing the kitchen area, failing to shut down an illegal party, and refusing to thoroughly check security camera footage once Kenneka had been reported missing. They also said, like, if you had checked the footage when her friends asked,
like 30 minutes later.
Right.
Yeah.
If you had checked the footage when her friends asked, if you had checked the footage when her mom asked, if you check the footage, anytime before 10 p.m. the next day.
Yeah.
So the lawsuit was settled out of court in December of 2023 for $10 million. The family and loved ones of Kenneka Jenkins still think that her case is unsolved. The police department considers it closed. I really don't know what I think. I think this is why I think of like Kendrick Johnson is like, I could see either being true.
Mm-hmm.
I could see where something happened to her. I can also see that maybe this was an accident.
Yeah. I don't know. I think something shady happened. I just don't know what I think
something
it
shady
is.
but not necessarily like a murder.
Yeah. I don't know. Like the way that she's laying, like I just don't feel comfortable with like.
So you looked at the pictures?
Yeah. And like I just think from if we are assuming that the last time we see her at the freezer is exactly when she goes in the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she looked rough, but like she hadn't fallen yet.
Yeah.
So you would have to believe that in that exact moment when she goes out of frame, she suddenly loses all control and, like I said, takes a nosedive into that corner. A full-on, like, lost control of her body and just dunk into the corner. And I have to believe that she knocked herself out. And yeah, maybe the door starts shutting on her, her foot gets stuck, whatever. But it's like, that just seems, in the same way that you're like, it seems too fast that she goes out of camera shot and some person snatches her. It also seems too fast that she goes out of camera shot and just suddenly becomes entirely incapacitated.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't know, like, maybe there's parts that I'm missing. Maybe she goes in and I'm trying to, like, make a world where, like, she would crawl her head into the corner because it's so cold. But then, and cover herself with her hair. But it's like, that seems like a reach.
I think if she was that, like, with it to, like, be making those decisions, she would be looking for a way out.
She'd be reaching for something. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think this is where it gets conspiracy-ish, I guess. But, like, I think if you go off of the assumption that, like, it is possible that the people involved are also the people with control of the video footage, then, like, there's just so much we don't know.
Right. And I think that's maybe why her family doesn't think anyone at the party is responsible.
Yeah.
Maybe responsible for drugging her. But not responsible for, like, her death directly is because, like, we're working on the assumption that there's something we're not seeing.
Yeah.
And, like, why would the hotel not want us to see it if it was her friends?
Yeah, it's true.
You know?
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's a good one, man.
One of my sources was it's a show, it's like credited to Neve Schulman, but he's only on it for like 5 seconds of every episode to tell you what the case is, and then he's not in it after that. But it's called True Life Crime, and it is really good. But this is the first episode. It's about Kenneka Jenkins, and then there a lot of the episodes I had not heard of those cases, but some of them are like things that have also been on like Dateline. But the reporter for it is really good. He talks to everyone like Karamo Brown. And so I really like that feature of it, that he's like so like delicate about it and like kind and like trying to get to know everyone and like help them solve a crime.
Yeah.
But highly recommend. that show. You can watch it on Amazon Prime.
Nice. Oh, okay. Good job, Mary.
Thanks.
Tell us what you think.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.